Welcome to 2:30. I'm Garrett Wolfe. I come from Triumph Pay. I'm guessing maybe some of you all have been paid by Triumph Pay at some point or another. We've got a sister company, Triumph Factoring, in the back. This says Load Pay, which is just another new initiative that we're working on to help carriers get paid faster, get paid nights, weekends, 24 hours, and get paid instantly, and have an ability to spend that money on really good fuel discounted type stuff. So this is less about load pay, but just to give you a little introduction to who I am. I think you may know Chad, so I'll let him do the brief one, and then Jeremiah kind of introduce himself as well. Go ahead, Chad.
Okay, my name's Chad Boblet. Owner-operator carrier, me, myself, my truck, and I. And I'm probably more well-known for being a social media influencer and an advisor for companies. Most often, the companies are startups. And the Facebook group is called Rate Per Mile Masters. If you're not a part of that group, join it. It's probably got the most CEOs of any other Facebook platform forum out there.
Yeah, my name is Jeremiah Cook. I work for a company called A2B. We are an innovative fuel card amongst other payment technologies, and I've spent about a decade in energy and fuel distribution and diesel.
Okay, so let's do this. What I'm hoping is that we'll do a little talking, but we'd love to just hear questions and make this more of a dialogue than a monologue. Does that all seem fair to everyone? Okay. All right, let's jump into this. So, I don't have to tell anyone that there are headwinds out there. Headwinds this is a tough market, right? There's no sugarcoating it. There at Triumph Pay, we make about 40% of the brokered freight payments in the industry, so we see it, we live it, and so we're well aware of it. We'll talk a little bit about kind of some of the stuff we're seeing, and then what I'm hoping that Jeremiah and Chad can do is talk a little bit about kind of what they're seeing, whether it's from the fuel side or the owner-operator side. Talk about a couple things where there might be signs of optimism, and then more, let's just kind of get into some tips and tricks on, if this goes for the rest of the year. You've seen brokers try to predict this. You've seen analysts try to predict this. Some say by the back half of this year, things will look good. Some people say it won't be this year at all. No one knows. No one has a crystal ball. I think we saw a little bit of a head fake in January, and February kind of plopped right back down, unfortunately. But anyways, the goal here is to not be all doom and gloom, but it's more just to talk about how do we kind of hunker down and get through this, okay? All right, so freight demand is weak. I don't think I've got to tell anybody that. This chart kind of gives you a good sense. It's flat. As we look at it, there's just not a lot of new volume coming on. I think when we hear from our freight brokers and our shippers, there may be a little bit coming. There might be some movement. All the destocking might have happened, but things are pretty steady right now. So I think I heard the DAT talk earlier, and we talked a little bit about a new normal. It's a non-2021 version of things, and everything we see would agree with that. And here's average invoice price. So the number here is everybody runs different freight, different lanes, different lengths of haul, all that stuff. So the number isn't necessarily important as much as the trend. So you can see exactly what we're talking about here. If we go back a year ago, things were even much better than they are now. But things are pretty flat at the moment. Does everyone see that? Does everyone kind of feel this in their business? This all looks right? We're not making it up? Okay. Perfect. Now here's kind of an interesting one. So this is the largest exodus of trucking companies that we've seen in a long time, certainly, or seen ever. I think Chad, I'm going to ask him he's got some thoughts on this in particular, but there's just more supply than there is demand right now. So it's time to be smart. And I want to open up to you real quick.
I did. Part of my talk yesterday was a chart similar to this. Yes, this is the longest period we've seen with it is down as much as it is. This is showing 2018. My chart yesterday showed all the way back to 2014. I wished I did some research because we could probably say the same thing all the way back to the housing crash. I don't know if this is worse than that time or not, but that's pretty significant to have this long of a period with this many people dropping out of this many carriers dropping their MC number. But it is starting to equal out. I mean, the most recent report that I showed yesterday, that we're getting close to that equal number.
And Jeremiah, are you guys seeing this on the fuel side too?
Yeah, we definitely see a lot of new entrants, but also companies that are really around that 1 year mark is where we start to see, folks are either staying in or they're getting out, and we see that turning point right around that 1 year mark.
And who knows someone that's parked their truck or hung up their keys? Does everyone know a lot of people having that? Yeah, man. And I think the other thing we're seeing in some of our information is that a lot of the smaller owner-ops are maybe taking this part of the season and going and working for one of the bigger carriers. Does anyone know or themselves kind of have the situation where they're hanging their shield with the large carrier for a little while?
I'm seeing that in the group.
Okay.
In my Facebook group, a lot of guys they're seeking better opportunity. They want to get with carriers that have direct freight and get away from the brokers. That's been going on for a while, and but I think that's we're slowly coming to an end of that.
All right. Well, fingers crossed. Let's hope so for all of our sakes. And capacity's down. I don't know that I want to belabor this one unless, do you guys have anything to add just about capacity? So at some point, I mean, just the way this works, just kind of the laws of supply and demand, this will come back around, right? And hopefully it's sooner than later. But we do, I think in theory what we need is some trucking capacity to exit the market for this. And then also we need some more freight to move. We need people to start restocking, right, in the warehouses and whatnot. So does anyone have anything that they'd add or anything that they're feeling differently than kind of what we're showing here? No? No? Okay. All right. And high diesel prices. So I'm not going to say a word about this. I want to let these two talk about diesel prices.
Good.
Yeah, I can, before I interpret some of the information on this chart, one of the things that I'll say is these are diesel prices. A lot of times in the news, they'll conflate crude oil pricing with diesel prices. And while there is a connection there, it's not a perfect correlation. So, the way that price is set around crude oil is really complex, but it boils down to a really simple equation between supply and demand. However, on the retail fuel pricing of diesel, I think a lot of folks would be surprised to learn that at the truck stop level, there's quite a bit of autonomy that goes into the individual locations when they actually set that diesel price. And I think folks would be even more surprised to learn that there's not always a lot of thought or data or science that goes into setting that price. It can be as simple as the manager says, the price is always going to be 10 cents higher than the guys across the street, right? So what that creates is an environment where you've got a lot of different disparity amongst prices in any local or regional area. When we get into the tips, I can talk about a way that we can deal with that. But as we look at the data in this chart, we can see that one, yes, prices are inflated. They are up, and that's definitely something to pay attention to. I think obviously that has an impact on margins, and it creates some sensitivity around fuel pricing. The other thing that you see is a lot of volatility. So if you look at those ups and downs in a month over month, right, there's a lot of volatility just in that shorter time frame. But then you expand that horizon out across several years, and you're seeing there's even more volatility there. So Chad has a great saying, you can't kill a trucker with high fuel prices.
Low. You cannot kill
low.
You cannot kill an owner-operator with cheap fuel prices. If this was a speech given by Donald Bachman, I think I got his first name right. I know his last name is Bachman. You see him on CNBC all the time. Anybody know Bachman? He comes on CNBC all the time talking about what's happening with the transportation stocks. And in a room full of nothing but brokers, they want prices to go up as well. And his message, and the brokers were saying, when is rates going to go up? When are rates going to go up? Well, at that time, just like we're talking about now, at that time, this is several years ago, you want capacity to leave the market, and that'll help increase rates. But you're not going to see capacity leave the market with cheap fuel. You can't kill, and his message was, big bold letters, You can't kill an owner-operator with cheap fuel. You can make a lot of mistakes with cheap fuel, but if we see it go, if it's high now, if it goes even higher, that's good for someone that runs the spot market. Maybe good for those on contracts too. And the reason why I say it's good for the people that run the spot market is because it's going to push rates up and push people out. It's going to push a lot of people out. As someone that I'm very conservative about fuel, sensitive about that. If I get offloaded, I'm going to find a place out of sight, out of mind for this big 53-foot truck and trailer, and hopefully they don't run me off when fuel's prices is high, because I don't want to waste that money going to the nearest truck stop that's 20 miles away.
So high fuel prices might not be able to, or low fuel prices might not be able to kill a trucker, but I'm curious about how volatility impacts those. And I think there's actually really interesting news when it comes to that. We go back to the crude oil side of this equation. If you look at supply and demand fundamentally driving that equation, one thing that is happening that's very, very interesting right now is last year the United States was the largest producer of crude oil in the world. And as a matter of fact, we've been the largest producer of crude oil in the world for the last 6 years. What's more is that we have increased from a low in 2008 of 5 million barrels per day to a record in 2019 when this trend started of 12 million barrels per day. And we've ended last year at an exit rate of about 13 million barrels per day of production. So what does this mean? Well, it means that we're no longer dependent on foreign oil to contribute to that equation around supply and demand related to how crude is set. And hopefully, I think what that means for us over time is that we're no longer exposed to the Saudis wanting to increase price or decrease price for reasons that are only known to them or beneficial to them, right? And we can now harness our own energy independence and hopefully drive out some of this volatility and set prices that are healthy and good for Americans.
All right, enough of the bad stuff. Let's talk about the good stuff. I don't actually have any complicated or fancy charts, just because anything that you would see right now that would indicate things are turning around is very small, very micro. But I think what we'll talk about is just some data points that we're seeing that might be interesting, might be kind of early signs of that. So I'll give just a couple anecdotes real quick. Again, we do a lot of work with freight brokers, and what we're hearing is that during COVID, the contract cycles used to be annual. There'd be the annual bids that these shippers would go out with, and they would kind of lock you up for about a year. And it went all the way down to 3 months, and actually some of these are doing monthly bids, and that's that's not necessarily interesting in and of itself, other than to say right now it's actually going back the other way. So they're starting to actually have longer bid cycles. And all that kind of indicates to me is that if I'm a shipper, if I just put myself in a shipper's shoes and I'm trying to lock in someone at a rate for a while, I probably have reason to believe that rates are going to go up. Right? So that's kind of one of these small little nuggets that are sitting out there that could be interesting. We'll see kind of how things play out. But I know Chad has a bunch of.
Well, going along, I thought you were going to say what I was going to say. Good thing you did, because I like saying it. Tailwind, those bids that he's talking about. I talk to a lot of people. I'm on social media all the time, and I'm talking to them on instant message too. Brokers and the people that are into the contract rates, bidding for 2024 rates. Nobody's talking about how they won some bids by being higher this year. Everybody's talking about, I had to go really low. I had to go really low in order to get some contract freight this year. Everybody's saying they're going lower, lower, lower to be able to secure freight for 2024. What I like about that, I see it. I've been doing this 13 years. I see it all the time that whenever they go low like this, they won't be able to move it. Rates are only going to go so low. It's kind of like that break-even point. Trucks will finally just sit. They won't move the freight once it gets so low, except the backhaul, which makes sense for those guys. But not everybody out there is a backhaul is looking for a backhaul. They run the spot market, and they're constantly wanting to maintain a profit. And so with the contract rates being pushed really low like that, they're not going to be able to find drivers for it. That means the freight is going to hit the spot market. It's going to sit, and eventually that freight has to go, and they're going to raise the rates on it. That's my tailwind. I like about it the most.
Is anyone else seeing signs that might indicate things are going to get better, or does everyone still feel like things are pretty? You're seeing it? A couple people are seeing it. All right, a little bit. Okay, little glimmers. Do we have any glimmers over here? Looking for a fourth glimmer. All right, she believes. Okay, I feel like an auctioneer. I would be a really bad one.
I've also talked to the senior level of C.H. Robinson, and they have told me that we have hit the bottom. Rates are not going to go any lower than what they are now. And when they're looking at thousands and thousands of contracts. These are very smart, intelligent people.
All right, so we got 4 glimmers of hope, at least, I counted. Okay. All right, so both of you, I won't talk. I want you guys to give some tips and tricks and kind of things to do. So if it does stay like this for the next few months or next 6 months or even 1 month, like what are the things to do? What would you suggest to weather this storm?
I'll go one right off the bat would be if you run the spot market, and that's what I do. That's what I talk about all the time. Start looking at power only. Get yourself set up with power only. Start thinking about it. And the reason why I say that is during this last 2 years, a lot of these carriers has pulled back on hiring drivers because they don't have enough freight for it. But as freight starts to come back, those big carriers that has the freight, it's going to be unloaded trailers. Plus COVID. I hope y'all not doing no YouTube stuff here because that's a bad word to say on YouTube. But you get shadow banned if you say that, right? But anyway, after COVID pushed a lot of these shippers to start doing power only, and it's a part of the industry that keeps on growing is the power only. And when they start having all these trailers loaded, they're going to be looking for people to move the extra loads that are sitting on trailers. It's a market that hardly anybody's taking advantage of. I love taking advantage of power only because the trailer's already loaded, and you quote round trip rates on it. Anyway, it's something you need to take advantage of. And the big mega carriers, JB Hunt, Swift, they all have more trailers. I think Swift told me one time they have 5 trailers for every 1 truck. Once you establish that connection with either another carrier, another broker, and they don't let just anybody move their trailers. But once you establish, hey, you're a good source for them, they're going to come back to you all the time. I know I'm taking a little time here, but AAA Cooper, a company that I used to work for, they had to deliver to Mercedes. That freight had to be on time or they get big penalties. And in order to get into the gate, that trailer has to say AAA Cooper on it. I can't pull in a regular, one of my trailers has to be their trailer. So they would always put me on. And once I established that connection, they were always giving, they even asked me one time, do you care before you go to Mercedes down in Alabama to cover up Boblet Brothers and put on there AAA Cooper? I'll do anything you want me to do. The way you're paying me. It's only for 5 minutes until I get in the gate and I'll take it off. I'll even spray paint my truck blue and white so it looks like the rest of y'all's trucks. But I mean, that's always, when rates come back, that's always the thing that you'll see first is the power only. I used to not tell that because I didn't want anybody a part of that, but there's plenty enough now for all of us.
Tell us about kind of total cost of fuel, your whole thing about that.
Yeah, so I think when we look at fuel pricing, one of the things that truckers have really been focused on for a long time are discounts. And really, I think that's part of the environment that merchants and fuel cards have created because partially it's just really beneficial to them, the fuel cards and the fuel merchants. So, the tip here is to really look at the total cost of fueling and really pay attention to the market prices because if the average price, let's say in a particular area where you're fueling is $4 and the truck stops price that fuel at $4.50 so that they can give you a 50-cent discount, then you're really just paying retail price, right? And if there's a truck stop that's right down the road and you could have paid $3.80, you could have saved 20 cents and had a 0 discount, right? So I don't think you can just assume that discounts are always going to be the best financial impact for your company. So paying attention to and having the tools to know where are the truly lowest price stations, regardless of whatever the discount may be, and then also having the ability to access those locations, go and buy the fuel there. So if you don't have tools and resources that are helping you understand where the lowest price fuel is, how you're competing as it compares to your buying on the average of the market, and making sure that you're getting that financial benefit, definitely seek out those tools.
Chad, tell us about your whole mantra right now around try to consolidate and stick to just a few brokers.
Oh, okay, yeah. I like to do things in threes. That's how I handle problems or anything. I like to do 3 stocks. I like to do, if my investment, I want three different type of assets for my portfolio. When it comes to brokers, I want 3 brokers, 3 really good brokers. And so who should your next load come from? Your next load should come from the broker you just worked with. If you just worked with the broker and you had success with that broker, probably 70% of your conversation with that last broker you did business with was trying to figure out whether you could work with the broker or not. The other 30% is the rate part. That's easy. That's easy for you all to come to an agreement on the rate. But if you've already determined you can work with that broker, you like working with that broker, you just had success with that broker, then work with that broker again. 3 times with that same broker, relationship has been created. That broker now is giving you the good stuff. That's what you want. That's what you want. So at Rate Per Mile Masters, I talk about this all the time, how to get a little bit of leverage to make more money.
Yeah, and I think just to build on that, just the time that is spent at the freight brokers themselves, even the biggest ones, all the way down to some of the smallest ones, each of the carrier reps has a list. Sometimes it's handwritten on their desk, sometimes it's a Post-it note, sometimes it's in their computer, whatever it is. They've got their list of carriers. So the goal is to get on that list because it's easier for everybody, it's better for everybody if they can call you, they know you can pick up on time, deliver on time, keep it all safe along the way. And if you're on that list, I mean, just it'll just keep kind of feeding that way. So it's, again, get on that list. I think that's kind of one of the biggest things that I've seen sitting with these freight brokers. Anything else we would add kind of on this one? All right, let's see. All right, I'm going to do this really quick because this is not about us so much. This is more about you guys. But just to give you a little kind of sense into what Try and Pay at Load Pay, what we're trying to work on. You know, we all know that you can't get paid on a weekend. I mean, there's ways to do it, but just your true payments, your ACH payments, your wires, all those things happen when the banks are open, right? And I can say this. I can talk about a bank because we're part of a bank. We're wholly owned by a bank. Triumph Pay is. And you know, if you need something on Saturday or at night on especially like a 3-day weekend, and you got to wait till 3 days. I've spent enough time at fuel stations to just see people are living at the fuel stations for 2 or 3 days, waiting on the money to fuel up to go take the next load. And we just want to do something about that. So part of what we're working on collaboratively is this idea. It's called Load Pay, but it's this idea like because we're a bank, because we're facilitating payments on behalf of about 40% of the freight brokerage market, we can make those payments available instantly and make it around the clock and make it really easy to spend, make it really easy to get access to discounts. As an owner-operator, it's not always the easiest to get access to good discounts. And if you do, you've also kind of got this thing where you got to send your money to your bank account and then send it into the fuel pro, all that stuff. So we want to close that cycle. We want to make that instant, and we want to make it just really cost-effective for you guys. So that's the only thing I'm going to say about Load Pay. We do have a booth out front, kind of where people were checking in. You would see it, and we can answer questions there. We do have beer that they can direct you to, which is kind of the thing I'm excited for after this. So if you're interested in that, I'll see you there. But let's do questions. Do you guys have, I know Chad's the local celebrity, so if you've got questions for Chad or for Jeremiah on fuel, or I'm happy to answer them. What questions do people have?
I'll make one comment about Load Pay real quick while you're thinking of a question. He got shoes to match Load Pay.
How awful
Isn't that the coolest thing ever?
I
want to get shoes.
These are, yeah.
he got them made like that.
Yeah.
That means if I get Boblet Brothers on my shoes, then my shoes becomes a tax write-off.
I know. I did this on purpose, believe it or not. Yeah, they're pretty bad. Any questions? What can we help with? What can we talk about? Anyone? All right. Well, I see most people are still awake, so that's good. But any questions?
And if you think of questions in the future on, I work with, 5 minutes popped up. We did that in perfect time, didn't we? I work with Triumph Pay and Triumph all the time. It's actually two different companies, and now we're going to be working with them doing load pay. We have meetings, and we talk about what I would like to see in load pay. The one thing that my vision of load pay, what I'm hoping for, is all my money in and my money out happens in one place, and I can, at the end of the year, I can print out one document and take that to my CPA, and this is one sheet, all the money that came in, all the money that came out, and load pay is gonna, with their bank, Triumph is a bank, so they have the capabilities of making that happen, and that's the things that I'm going to be talking, that I hope I can get load pay to do.
Hey Garrett, one question.
Yes.
Hello everyone. So many drivers, they have a trouble with schedules for pickup and deliveries, and most of the time they got the right amount of hours to drive from point A to B, but at some point shipper is loading him too late, and the relationship with broker breaks at that point, like, hey, you didn't deliver on time, sorry, we will not work together. Do you see any maybe future interaction with shippers, like to manage hours differently, like if load is like 500 miles, so any driver can really take it from point A to point B without being late? Because now the most common problem of drivers is a schedule for pickup and delivery.
So that's got your name written all over it.
So to break it down and simplify, the question is preventing drivers from being late? After being detained, how do we fix that? After being, their hours don't let them. After being detained at a shipper, well, before you get to that, here, my thinking. Well, I work with brokers all the time. If you got contract freight, it's a little bit different. I'm asking the broker immediately up front asking, okay, what time does the load pick up? And I should be able to get loaded within this amount of time. And I try to talk about detention with the broker. And I know a lot of people don't do that up front, but here's the thing. When it's happening, because you mentioned shipper. Shipper means this is the place you're getting loaded at. If the shipper's starting to be late, once it starts off bad, it usually don't get better. It just stays bad until the load is completed. And what I mean by that is that you're already late. The shipper's already causing you problems on being late there. Now you're probably going to be late on delivering the load. It's going to mess up your hours. So once we start getting late at the shipper, now's the time to correct it. Some people don't agree with this advice, but at that point, I'm telling the broker, you lied to me, you're probably going to lie to me again. What did I lie to you about? Well, you told me it picks up at this time. Now we're not picking it up at this time. That is a lie. I'm out. Deuces. And I mean, I try to do that in the nicest way I can, but I'm also talking about detention, and I don't really want to get paid detention. I got, what, $200,000 worth of equipment sitting at a dock, and you're going to give me $60 after sitting there for 3 hours? That, detention is a hardship. It's a hardship. Do you need a mic? Oh, you're good. Well, I want to hear what you have to say. Give him mic.
Keith, we got one right over here, I think. And we got 2 minutes, so this is... Oh, I think right over here, gentlemen. No, Keith, to your left.
So what happens when you deliver a load, right? This is already the receiver. 6 o'clock, your 6:30 your appointment. You don't get to the window. They're saying you get to the guard check 6 o'clock, but you didn't get to the window to 30 minutes. They said you're late for your appointment. They keep you there for 9 hours, and the broker fighting with you to get detention. What you do? You just take your money and run, right?
I know this is a serious problem. It's probably one of the most addressed problems in our group, and that issue comes up all the time. I hate messing with the detention, and that's the reason why I'm talking about detention. Detention tells the story of the load, and like if it's automotive parts, am I talking to the broker about detention on automotive parts? I live in Lexington, Kentucky. I do automotive, used to all the time because we have Georgetown, Toyota, up in Ohio, Honda, Alabama, Mercedes, and then we have all these little small factories that does automotive parts. I kind of stick to that. But you let TQL call me about I'm not saying anything bad about TQL, or any broker call me about a load picking up here in Louisville at the Kroger warehouse. Boom! I know for a fact, or it's going there because that's usually the place when I get away from home and I need to get back home. I need to get back to Lexington, Kentucky. If you've ever been to that Kroger warehouse they have in Louisville, you know. It's going to be 3+ more hours, and I've been gone for all week, and I finally found a load that's bringing me back home, and as close as I can get is Louisville, and Kroger's I'm having to deal with those lumpers. Anyway, I try to avoid loads that are going to have those detention type problems. Usually, if I ask questions about it being a lumper, if the lumper's involved, then we're probably going to have problems. Those are the loads. I've been doing this for a long time that have problems. That's why I talk about power only. Usually with power only, I'm dropping a trailer, and I'm done. Y'all's business now. To fight it, and then I try to stay away from the notorious brokers that continue to have those problems. C.H. I love C.H. Robinson. That's one of my favorite brokers. Look how massive they are, and I never get people complaining about being done wrong. And when I talk about detention tells everything, if maybe you don't know if that commodity, that shipper, that receiver is going to have a problem, that's when you start talking about detention. You ask the broker, hey, I'm going to get paid $60 after 3 hours of sitting there. Whatever your detention rate is, I like to stick to standard because I don't want to fight it. But if that broker says, oh, we need to look into that, there you go. You know what you know what the deal is.
Are you fighting? Are you not getting anything?
And go into places that you're not stuck dealing with it. Like, let's say you go to Florida. They're probably not going to pay you detention in Florida because they got 10 trucks for every one load there. I mean, that's another thing that I've always, I tried to, because I hate detention so much. I'm calling the broker after 1 hour sitting. Hey, I've been here 1 hour, in another hour I'm going to ask you for detention. I'm trying to get them involved. I hate sitting there. I'm constantly looking at that red light, when I'm docking into that trailer. Still red? I'm just going to look back there and lay down. Well, I'm not laying down. One eyeball is on that light to see if it's still red. I hate it. I just have no patience for that at all. I'm asking the shipper. I'm going in there and talking to the shipper. Usually the shipper I can fix. Deuces, I'm out and close these doors up. Y'all didn't load me. I'm gone. But the receiver, I can't.
Clearly, we got a hot topic here. So we could probably hang out behind here. We're getting the wrap it up thing. Thank you guys. Again, load pay kind of out in that big atrium area. Chad, we'll just hang out behind here if someone wants to ask questions. But thank y'all again for the time.